Hi, beloved. This is my second podcast, Dr. Opa N. Ched. Last time we were talking about gender-based violence. We discussed about 4 classifications, which is physical, financial, emotional, and social. So we have to finish up with the emotional aspect. Like I said previously, you guys, you are very fond of propagating emotional abuse because, when you get to know each other as a young couple, or even not young, but for as long as the time you met, it's not going to be the same as after 5 years, 10 years, and so on and so on. So now there are some modification or morphology that's going to happen to the other partner, particularly with females. They develop, become a little bit obese, but I don't know how to use the word obese. They become a little bit more. And then the guy now start checking something very strange. The looks are strange and developing interest outside. And then immediately after developing interest outside now, he will now verbalize, starting now to harass and abuse the partner emotionally, that you are fat, you don't look good, you're not like this when I met you. But forgetting that seeing that you don't want your partner to be obese, you have to train her that she must know that she has to exercise. Don't buy her stuff like mealy all the time. Potatoes, fat cakes, chips, fatty food stuff. They are not even healthy, not only for physical, but even for health purpose. It's not good, to be eating fat all the time. Because at times, your metabolism wouldn't be as active as it should, particularly if you are aging. Now, the fat, they are not easily being converted into energy, which is what is happening physiologically and anabolically. So that kind of treatment is not right. To be abusing her emotionally, other people are working, you're not working. Other people are intelligent, they can express themselves, but you have to teach her that she must develop herself. She must be competitive. She must be like other women of that age or that era. Nobody wants to have a partner that is behind the times. Obviously, you don't have to be a cake. You want to have a person that's moving with pace. So, you women as well, we have to ensure that you become up to scratch. You walk with time, walk with the flow. Don't stay behind. But that doesn't give your partner a passport or a guarantee or a right that he must abuse you. And you female as well, because like I said, GBV is not all about men to females. You females, you don't have to do that as well, particularly when a person has to be retrenched and then now he's being ostracized, and then the wife will tell the kids, your father is useless, it's not like so and so, and so they end up not respecting their father or giving their father the regard that he deserves because of you females, or trying to group your kids to be in your favor more than the other partner. That's abuse as well. It's the very same psychological abuse and that I'm talking about. So you must refrain from such, unprecedented, narratives or utterances or belittling a person, dehumanizing a person, and at times that could actually be accounted to stuff like when you have to veto what your partner is always saying. When he or she says something, you have to veto it, and you degrade or you demoralize the person, and you sort of bring her down or him down, and he or she loses self-esteem, and such kind of practices are not really admissible or permissible in a relationship. So they add up to GBV. So now that have a healthy discussion, healthy environment in the family. Like I said last time, that if you feel you are not okay at home, when you were not coming in terms with your discussion, just get out and have some fresh air, and come back when you are okay. Just try to create an environment that is conducive for both of you, because you'll end up contacting unnecessary chronic ailments, even acute, but ailment, whether it's acute or chronic, you don't have to suffer from that. And you must exercise, you people. Exercise, praying and exercise. Those are very important elements in life. Now let's get to our other facets now that are related to GBV. From the four that I've mentioned, we've got intimate partner violence. There's another type of violence, which is number 5. And then sexual harassment, number 6. Female genital mutilation is 7. School-related gender-based violence is also, and that one, it attribute to a lot of fatalities that we heard about. I'll elaborate more on that when I discuss about it. And then human trafficking is also gender-based violence in a form, and cyber violence, the one that we use sending stuff, through cell phones or electronically, nude pictures or bullying. I discussed that. And then daily forced marriage or child marriage. So it's another form of violence. So we've got them. Now, like I'm saying, when I conduct my GBV drugs and crime campaign, I play music. I'm going to play my other genre. I played you 2 genres before. It was gospel and amapiano. Now I'm going to play you another 2 different genres. This one is a gospel that is, jazz, wise gospel. And then I'm going to play you kwaito. So those will be 4 now. Like I said to you, I play 9 genres. I'm the only person in the world who play 9 genres at the same time. You've got people who are doing that, but I do it at the same time. In 2 years, I've already played all these genres. So I'm going to play you this song. You're going to like it. So let's hear the song. this is my other song. The name is Jesu Rato Lahao. It's a traditional gospel song. So it's Jesu Rato Lahao instrumental. If you want to play it on your own, then it's there. YouTube and Instagram. Let's get to the other classification that I mentioned. Intimate partner violence. Intimate partner violence is basically more or less like the one that I mentioned, psychological and social GBV. I'm not gonna dwell on that anymore because I've already sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is very pandemic, and I would caution people who practice it or who propagate it that they will end up in jail. If a person can report you, because in most cases, sexual harassment is being practiced by people who want to do others a favor, being a male or a female. If a person have got power can employ you or to benefit something from him or her, they use money or they use benefits to access or to propagate sexual harassment. In most cases, we hear this happening in a workplace whereby people are practicing sex to work principle approach. So when you have to be employed and then they, solicit sex from you, when they want to give you a tender, they solicit sex from you. We hear about that, we know about that. There is not anything that is good. Or maybe in schools like tertiary level, when a lecturer, see that you are not performing well, he or she can approach you and solicit sexual favors from you, so that you must get good marks or you must be promoted to another level. It happens in various occasions, or maybe let's say a mechanic or you borrow money from a male person, then when you have to pay him and then you just go about, duck and diving, and the guy realizes that this woman doesn't have money. He solicits sexual favors from you, or maybe a car mechanic fixes somebody's car of a different gender. Well, we've got female mechanics nowadays as well, so I wouldn't say only men can do that. And then when a person may be struggling with the payment, he or she can just ask for sexual favors so that that should be paid off. So such kind of advancement or approaches, they are not really good because they are destructive and they destroy. And imagine if you have been employed through that. I mean, you lose self-esteem because every time you see that person, and you just think about how you got into that deal. So it's not really anything that is precedented to be practicing. So people, let's try to leverage one another, but not in the way that we do. Leveraging doesn't mean that you have to abuse other people, So let's do the right things. And then let's get to the female genital mutilation. This one is known that there are people who, they used to do this with people living with albinism, and then kill them and use their body parts for rituals, and all those, which was not a good practice. Or maybe a person get involved with you and then sleeping with you and taking some of your parts, and then they cut some parts or anything that has to do with such kind, and they kill the self-esteem, and it's also a health hazard, and then it sort of decimate your culture, your religious beliefs. It has a lot to do with the psycho of a person. So it's not really a good practice as well. Then we get to school-related gender-based violence. I mean, school-related, you get to a situation whereby boys, they bully girls, or girls bully boys. I mean, in form of gangsterism. I mean, you have seen this in social media in many occasions where boys were bullying girls, and some, they end up committing suicide, or a girl will abuse a boy and say he raped her. You know about such fatalities, cases whereby some boys ended up killing themselves, or they say you are dumb, and then you lose self-esteem and you end up committing suicide. So those kind of stuff, I mean, they are not really conducive or healthy at school, because some kids, they end up not going to school, or maybe they even get into domestic affairs. Your father is an alcoholic, your mother is an alcoholic, your mother messes around with all these men, and all this stuff, and they actually kills or decimate that learner's integrity, reputation, esteem. So we must really get rid of that. You must tell your children not to be engaged in such kind of narratives, because they are not really good. And then they end up being fired, banned in schools. I mean, they go to disciplinary hearings, and then they get fired from the school, and there's no school who's gonna admit your child or your kid after being expelled from another school because of such behavior, because there's nobody who wants this school to have some black sheep. So try to avoid such at all costs. Then human trafficking, I mean, that one, it's viral, you know about it. People will go to and tell girls that we are going to be employed, and then there's some employment in another country, and then they pick them up, and then they are going to be engaged in prostitution, or forced labor, or military activities. All those kind of practices, they are not good. I mean, human trafficking, sometimes they traffic people for body parts. When you get to there where you have to be going to work, like they always promise there's employment, they kill and they decimate people, and they cut them, take their body parts and use them for specific reasons. And so you people as well, you must move away from this foreign employment, and you must screen first when you have to go in interviews. There are people, there was a case there in Johannesburg where people were promised work. When you get to the office, they kill you, and that's part of human trafficking, because I mean, you are being killed from a false promise. So it's very disheartening to see people being involved in such kind of ill treatment, and because people are desperate, people want work, and now they use that opportunity for that they have to traffic humans using that approach. So I'm gonna play you another song. This one is Kwaito. Kwaito. The name of the song is Yegela. So Yegela, you must move away from. Yegela means stop, leave, quit. So it's about quitting from mischief, and so Yagela is the song. Quit drugs, quit gangsterism, quit mugging people, quit hijacking, quit raping, quit patronizing females, quit all that is not right. Now let's get to cyber violence. Cyber violence is the one that you do through cell phones or through electronic ways like computer, laptop, etc., etc. So this one is very common in males sending females their genitals, like we had in one of the cases whereby the senior judge president, was alleged to have been showing his genitals. It was an allegation anyway. I don't know what's going to be the verdict, but I'm just trying to indicate to you that there are some people who are doing that in the true sense, who have been punished actually for that. It was an allegation and it ended up being confirmed. They were fired. And it's not a good practice. I mean, an elderly person, you have been working for quite some time, and then all of a sudden you get engaged in such. And, in most cases, it happens to people who are not really involved with such a person. They are trying to entice the person by sending such. And at times, it's a bullying, try to dehumanize a person or sending visuals that are unprecedented and call for and barbaric, and it's not really a good practice. So basically, cyber violence is anything that violates the right of a person, or maybe you send a picture of Islams or Jews in their attire, or Arabs in their attire, or Muslims in their attire, and mocking at them, or anti-Semitics, all those kind of stuff. It can be religious, or maybe send a person about the political leader, maybe half naked, or maybe engaged in funny activities. So, or maybe the father, like for instance, there's a video that appeared, a prison order was engaged in sexual activities with the police officer, or prison order with the prisoner, and then that picture was just moving all over around. And if they send maybe to the wife or to the husband or to the kids, of those people, I mean, that's a cyber violence. That doesn't constitute to what our constitution entails enshrine. So we have to get rid or move away from such kind of practices, because they are very uncultured and unacceptable at all costs. And then lastly, but not least, is the early forced or child marriage. So that is very common. I mean, statistic at one stage about something like more than 50 million of girls who have been forced in marriage, or and sometimes that have got, it's a health hazard, because that young girl is forced. You must remember, when you are forced, you ended up retrieving or refraining or moving away from that marriage. And imagine that young girl has been sleeping with this old man for some times. What has he done to her genitals? So he messed up her genitals, and who's going to marry a person with such conditions? I mean, so that has to be reported. All this, by the way, I forgot, all this, they have to be reported. You must report a person who is engaged on this, Because in the end, when danger arises, or maybe a person end up killing you because you now becoming stubborn, you are resistant, it can end up killing you, So early, one stage in time saves nine. Just report that person at the time so that put protection order so that he must be stopped to do that. And sometimes the way South Africa law is so very loose or very kind or user friendly. There are so numerous cases whereby people who have been served with protection orders, they ended up killing the complainant. So many cases. I know you know about them. So I don't understand how is our system operating that people do not respect the law. And they do that because the person is going to get 20 years, and 20 years is 10 years. He serves or she serves half sentence. So people, in a nutshell, refrain from doing anything that is unlawful. Because anything that is unlawful, you are violating somebody's rights and you risk going to jail. And jail is not a child's play, whether you are an elderly person or a young person. All this GBV violation, they constitute to jail or any other form of punishment. So in jail, that one, you must know that that is not a good place to go to, because you are going to experience like in hell. People say the way they know about hell, reading from the books, jail is worse than hell, because maybe hell you wouldn't be feeling anything because you'll be a human being in another form. But now when you are a complete human being like this, having go to jail, I mean, imagine an old man being sodomized by young boys, or non-gang member old people sodomized, or being deprived from healthy meal or from enough sleeping or hygiene. A cell that have to accommodate 20 people is now having something like 120 people, because jails are overcrowded. Crime is so rife that jails are overcrowded. So, I mean, people, let's us try to move away from gender-based violence. It's not right. Gender-based violence is not right. So next time I'll be talking about femicide and domestic violence combined. So I hope you'll enjoy it, and keep doing what I say you shouldn't be doing, and report people who violate all this, who are accustomed to gender-based violence. So thank you for listening and have a wonderful time. Bye.